all. All right, this is not a reading. I just wanted to kind of get on here and I felt called to kind of talk to you about something. So, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about grief and transforming and transmuting the energy of grief and heartbreak and how it relates to there's a certain phrase out there where your tension goes, energy flows. And I just kind of wanted to talk to you about breaking the patterns of grief, right? Loss happens to everyone. I personally am on this path, not because of like sunshine and rainbows sort of just being all in my life. Like my life is completely like hunky-dory and 100% fantastic. That is just not my story. I have definitely had loss. I think we all have, and have grieved that loss. I've personally, dealt with, of course, death in my family. I've dealt with heartbreak from broken relationships. I've been through a divorce before in my past. I've dealt with health issues that can be frustrating and the sense of betrayal that can come with that. So, like every person on this planet, I've dealt with grief and loss that comes from having an ideal version of how you had hoped things would work out. A loss of a profession or a professional job before. I've had that kind of happen, where you thought you were going to be on one professional trajectory and stuff did not work out that way. But grief and sorrow and bad things, tough things happen to us all, right? And yet, you're still alive, right? You're still here. Spirit still has a mission for you, which means we then have to do something with that grief, right? And the first step in the grieving process is just to sit with the emotions, just to be with it, just to acknowledge it, console that hurt inner child, that disappointment that you're feeling from whatever's happened. That's step one. And that takes as long as it takes. Sometimes, we need to just sit in the grief and feel it and let it work through our bodies. At some point, though, we need to start the process of living it again. Okay, we see this play out in the major arcana of the tarot, for instance. You see the tower moment, right? The world coming crumbling down, followed by the star, the glimmer of hope, the glimmer of faith that things can be renewed, that life can move on in a positive form or fashion. All right, so I think the trick is, once you feel ready, to begin looking for little glimmers of light and hope in your day-to-day life. And they're there. They're always there. Spirit is always trying to give you something good that you can appreciate. So when you're ready, start looking for them. Start looking for glimmers of light. And it might be really, really small things at first, and that's okay. It might be just simply like, wow, the weather is really beautiful today. I appreciate the feel of the sun on my skin. And it's okay to feel that kind of small little glimmer. As you start to do that, those things start to compound. If you can notice and take time out to appreciate these small little glimmers around you, you'll start to see more little glimmers, and they'll kind of build on themselves. And this is all just about how your mind works. Like, yes, this is kind of spiritual in a way, but in a way, this is also very scientific, okay? I'm someone who loves the spiritual realm very, very much, but I also think we've been given the gift of knowledge and discovery, and I love science. It really intrigues me as well. So you have a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, okay? And I'm not a neurologist. I'm a humanities girl, okay? But my understanding is you have an element in your brain that was there from the start because it was meant to protect you. And it's what directs your focus, okay? So what we start to notice in our environment, it helps us sort of focus in, and originally it was like meant to help us focus in on like danger, right? But you use this all the time when you're driving, okay? If you're driving down the road, you don't notice every single thing going on the road. You just notice the most important things going on the road, right? And that helps you sort of stay on track on the road, right? Anytime you buy a new car, speaking of driving, so like, if you have a, certain kind of vehicle, like you're driving a black Honda, you start to notice, if you're driving a black Honda Civic, you're going to notice all the other black Honda Civics on the road, okay? It's how our mind works. As we start paying attention to a certain thing, we start to see more and more and more of that thing. So that's how all these little glimmers, all these little things that we can be appreciative of, start to add up over time. So as you start noticing these things, as you start noticing things you can be grateful for, that you can be appreciative of, and that you start expressing that appreciation, they will add up over time. And that will allow you to begin to transform and transmute the energy of grief. And you can consciously do this. The more you do it, sort of the faster that trajectory moves, right? The more consciously in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day, you're grateful for the little glimmers, the more movement you'll see.